have been advanced, had been given advance notice that they would have to appear to be witnesses. We don't know the details of exactly, who, so to speak, pulled the trigger in this hanging. We don't have those details. We expect we'll get those shortly. All the U.S. official I spoke to just a short time ago told me is that, in fact, the execution went as scheduled, as planned, death by hanging.
And do we know whether or not it was videotaped? There had been word it might be, and we know that his capture, for example, in December was videotaped several years ago. Was this execution also taped?
Yes, the Iraqi government had made plans to videotape the execution, the preparations for the execution, the whole thing. What we don't know, Elizabeth, is whether or not they will actually release that videotape publicly. There have been some discussion and debates within the Iraqi government on that, so we don't know if we will actually see the videotape, but we are told that, in fact, this execution was videoed.
All right, Jonathan Karl, thank you. For almost 20 years, Saddam Hussein was public enemy #1 of the United States. The U.S.-led invasion in Iraq in 2003 was aimed in part at toppling his repressive regime. In April of that year, American forces took over Baghdad and fully occupied the country. As coalition troops entered the city, Iraqis flowed into the streets to celebrate the end of Saddam's rule. Saddam himself went into hiding, and news of his capture came 8 months later, announced by then U.S. Administrator Paul Bremer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Saddam was found in an underground spider hole at a farmhouse near his hometown of Tikrit. In November of this year, Saddam was convicted last year, Saddam was convicted by the Iraqi High Tribunal and sentenced to death by hanging by ordering the massacre of 148 people in the northern Iraqi town of Dujail in the early 1980s. The victims were Shiite men and boys rounded up and killed in retribution after someone in the town opened fire on Saddam's motorcade in a failed assassination attempt. Just this week, an Iraqi appeals court upheld that verdict and said that he should hang within 30 days. It took much less time than that. There are fears, as John Karl said, that the execution could inflame Iraq's political divide. Once again, the former Iraqi leader, Saddam Hussein, has been executed in Iraq. We're going to return now to regular programming. For those of you watching 2020, we'll have much more on Saddam Hussein coming up. And you can get the very latest anytime at abcnews.com and our broadband and cable channel, ABC News Now. I'm Elizabeth Vargas in New York.
For continuing coverage of this story, stay with ABC News, abcnews.com, and ABC News Radio. This has been a special report from ABC News.
And he may be dangerous.